Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Insane Game Freak here to bring you my part 2 of my Switch analysis, where we're now going to talk about the software, the games. We're going to talk about the third party, and we're also going to just talk about games in general. Now, we're not going to really speak too much on speculation of what games I think are coming, or any analysis of Splatoon 1.5 or whatever the hell it is. It's more of just theories about those games, but nothing really too deep. So let's kind of get into it and see where we go. Okay, so first things fucking first. As far as that third party list, which is where we're gonna start, of publishers, and I have it on my screen right here. That's why I'm pointing this way. Of publishers that may be involved with that are going to be involved with the Switch in some fashion. First, I need to address that. For one, I don't think this console is going to be heavy in the third party as the other two consoles are. If anything, I think it's going to be kind of the reverse of what Xbox One is. Where Xbox One has a lot of Western support and has shitty Japanese support, I think the Switch will have a lot of Japanese support and shitty Western support. Because most of the companies I think that would stick around with Nintendo are going to be the Japanese companies, and there's a particular reason why. Besides the obvious, well, they make Japanese games in their Japanese company. That might be part of the reason, but the other reason is because not only because the console has a Japanese mentality in it, but also because Japanese games aren't as graphically intensive as Western games. Western games, to me, for the most part, have been the games that have been the most pushing the boundaries in terms of graphical fidelity and frame rates and all that other shit. You know, they're the ones. It's the Western mindset to push for spectacle, whereas the Japanese mindset, although it's pushing for spectacle, is trying to do it in an interesting and colorful, visually appealing way. So, seeing that, oh, well, we got some Western developers on here, I would probably make a bet and say the Western developers will be the first ones to leave, whereas the Japanese ones will be the ones that stick around. But I am going to look at the list and talk about which companies should raise an eyebrow and which ones shouldn't. I'm obviously not familiar with every one of these companies, but I'm going to pick out the ones that stick out to me in my mind, and which ones some of you were freaking out about that you really shouldn't be, and some that might be interesting to freak out about. Okay, seeing the Havoc engine and Sega on here is not shocking, because it's fucking Sega. Sega has supported literally every single Nintendo console in some way, shape, or form, and continues to, and they probably will always, because Sonic, let alone any other franchise, Sonic the fucking Hedgehog will always, 90% of the time, being on a Nintendo console. Now, whether or not anything else comes from that is a different story, and I'm curious to see if Sega might confirm Sonic Mania for the Switch maybe in January, but we'll see. Sega isn't a surprise. The Havoc engine isn't a surprise. Unity isn't a surprise. DNA is kind of a surprise because DNA only makes mobile games, so maybe we'll get enhanced mobile ports between, technically, I guess Super Mario Run would be the first game, because DNA didn't really do anything with Pokemon Go. When I think I said that in an earlier video. But DNA might handle the Fire Emblem stuff and the Animal Crossing stuff and the Super Mario Run stuff. So we'll see. But that one's kind of interesting because of the mobile nature of the game. Platinum Games isn't really a shock. That just tells me that we're probably going to either get some ports and maybe some remakes of Wii games, or just a possible Bayonetta 3. We'll see. Activision isn't a shock because Activision is consistently supporting Nintendo consoles. We always get a Call of Duty game, at least one. I think the Wii U got 2. I think we got Black Ops 2 and we got Ghost, and that was it. Bandai Namco isn't really shocking, nor is Koei Tecmo for that matter. Primarily because we got support on every console for Bandai and Namco. The Wii getting a disgusting amount of DBZ and Naruto games. The only interesting part about those is that we might get the other anime games we usually miss out on. That Sony's kind of hidden gem shit that kind of makes people buy their console. They're the only console manufacturer that actually consistently gets all the anime really Japanese games, because we're not going to put that shit on Xbox, and the Wii U wasn't selling well enough to justify doing it. But we might get, the Storm games, maybe. The Storm games, maybe the One Piece games. I mean, the 3DS kind of shows pretty much almost all the, because a lot of this shit is more applying to all the 3DS games that we were getting, like, during now. Like, we were getting the One Piece, some of the One Piece games on 3DS, the Attack on Titan game, the Dragon Ball Z games. Like, we were getting the anime-ish games on the 3DS. So maybe it'll make it shift over to console and we'll get like Burning Blood or some shit. Or the inevitable sequel or another Pirate Warriors game. Because we did miss out on some games. And granted, we did get one Piece game, just going into that for a second, which was that fucking Unlimited World Red. Also because Koei Tecmo does Fatal Frame. So, now granted, I heard 5 did not sell well, but they might try it again. We'll see. You know, I hope so. EA isn't shocking because EA at least puts something on each console. Depending on how well it sells, depends on how much we get. Square Enix is interesting, but not too surprising because once again, we still get Bravely Default. We got Bravely second, this year, so I'm not surprised about that. Level 5, we might get the Snack World game and probably more Yokai Watch. Capcom is interesting because I can't think of any game they've put out recently that's been on the 3DS or Wii U. The only thing coming to mind is probably Monster Hunter. That's probably what that's in reference to, is Monster Hunter. I don't think we're going to get Resident Evil 7, and if we are, we probably won't get it. Well, maybe. The only ones that are really shocking is probably like From Software and Bethesda. Particularly because Bethesda's never put out a game on Nintendo consoles. I think the same thing going for From Software. Konami's a little weird unless that's just in reference to Virtual Console. Unless you're saying we're getting Metal Gear Survive, which as of right now isn't really a strong point considering people are not in the best feelings with Konami right now. But I think it might, unless we're going to get like another like Castlevania Lords of Shadows game. We'll see. I mean, we did get that on the 3DS. We got the Mirrors of, what's it called? Mirrors of Fate, I think. Which ended up getting ported. So it was like, fuck me. Anything else on this? Atlas, you shouldn't be surprised because we got an Atlas game on the Wii U, which would be the crossover game, which was, I think, was the first Atlas console game on Wii U we got. I mean, obviously, I think they used to make the Trauma Center games. We got the Persona 4, Persona 3 crossover game. We got the Etrian Odyssey games. I don't think some of these games are gonna, I'm not too surprised to see them here. We got the Lego guy creators on here. Ubisoft is in a shock. Warner Brothers is in a shock because that could easily be in reference to Lego, Batman, and bullshit. There's not too many shocking people on this list. Like, people like to make it sound like it is. Because most of these guys have made Nintendo games before or worked with Nintendo. Marvelous is interesting just because Senran Kagura hasn't been on a Nintendo console since the second game that came out on the 3DS, which means we may or may not be getting a port of Estival Versus or the fucking new Water Gun game that was recently announced. We'll see. Most of this shit though is just or have been on Nintendo consoles either through the 3DS or have been on Nintendo consoles. Wii U may or may not be included, like with the Wii and GameCube and shit. So most of the third party list isn't interesting. Now to get into my thoughts, and I guess we'll go ahead and address the Mario Kart and Splatoon stuff. Those are probably remaster games. I think that's the safest assumption. Nintendo has never been known of making a sequel game look that fucking samey. Nowhere even, unless you can, like, especially with Mario, not to that extent. Like Mario Kart 8's screen footage that is not official footage, quote unquote, in that trailer looks like Mario Kart 8 footage with like some advancements. I would be more inclined to believe these are Nintendo's first like definitive edition type games. And some of you would say, "Oh, they did that on the 3DS." And it's not like they're new to it. They've been doing it on the 3DS with, you know, Mario Maker coming out and Yoshi's Woolly World. I think that's where they're going. And I think like they're pretty much trying to do with the 3DS that they're going to end up doing with the Switch, is having a all-encompassing library, which is why they keep swapping games. The only thing that sucks, and it makes sense, is that they're just not porting any of those games from the 3DS to the Wii U. Now, people have had their suspicions of which games are going to be like that. Probably Splatoon, probably Mario Kart. Mario Maker wouldn't shock me either, and probably Smash. Those are the 4 games I can see off the top of my head that will most definitely get ports. Smash, it seems like a no-brainer because you can easily get away with throwing in a few new DLC characters, including the stages from the 3DS version, and you've already sold the game. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially considering the vanilla versions of a lot of those games have become like select titles. Well, actually, I'm trying to make sure I say that right. Koei Tecmo, I would not be surprised if we got a port of Hyrule Warriors on here, which is kind of a dick move to do, considering Legends isn't. I think Legends is like not even a year old yet. But it's Koei Tecmo, and for those who play Koei Tecmo games, you should know Koei Tecmo is not the best with not being dickish to the consumers about games. I mean, Hyrule Warriors Legends is kind of that in itself, on top of how they handle games like the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series and the fucking... Well, I don't think Koei Tecmo does that, but or One Piece Pirate Warriors. You know, it's that whole we come up with a formula, it works, and then we just run it into the fucking ground and we charge you out the ass for it. But I think that most of those are just definitive edition games. Now to get into the games that I would like to see on the Switch and kind of getting into that whole situation. First things first, I grabbed 4 games from the Wii U that I own, which is Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Bayonetta 2, Hyrule Warriors, and Pokken Tournament. Of those games I grabbed, 3 of those sold pretty well. 2 of these being over $1 million, and Pokken Tournament being kind of close. I think it's like 900,000 right now, which is pretty fucking good considering how minimalistic that game is. Hopefully we at least get the Hopefully we at least get the DLC that they've been putting out on the arcade version, which I think we will. I think they might just be waiting until all 3 characters are announced, because for those who don't know, November 1st, they're announcing the 3rd character, which should be Empoleon according to the data mining leaks we got. Although it seems pretty late game to throw that out. A lot of these games I can see getting ports to the Switch. Now, whether they're gonna just completely say fuck the Wii U library and do it is up to them. What they could easily do is just put out these DLC characters, and then maybe later on next year, put out a Pokken Tournament 2 with all that other shit. But that's a completely different reason. Anyways, the reason why I showed these games is because one of the biggest problems I had with the Wii U when it first came out, and I've said this numerous times, is the Wii U lacked game variety. But the Wii U also lacked something else that the Wii had, which was exclusive third-party games that made you want to buy the console. I think regardless of where this thing lies in the power scale, it's not going to be the strongest console out there. Period. I don't give a fuck, even if it's stronger than the PlayStation 4, which I don't think it's insanely stronger anyway. This game console is not going to be the strongest thing on the market, meaning it's inevitable that it's, and on top of that I believe that the Western third party is going to leave. I don't think they're probably going to miss out on some games, let alone get shittier ports of other games. So what they need to worry about is not necessarily all these little partners they got. I don't give a damn if they get look, if we get Persona 5, that's cool. You know, shut up, phone. Who is son of a bitch? This always happens. I forgot turning my shit on mute. I mean, we can get, Arkham Knight Switch Edition. You could get, Watch Dogs 2 Switch Edition. But that doesn't work. That doesn't sell on Nintendo consoles. You know what does sell on Nintendo consoles? A Switch Atlas game. A Switch Mega Man game. A Switch Rayman game. Stop making the Switch version and just make a Switch game. That's why I brought out these 4 games, because this isn't Persona, this is Wii U Persona, or I guess this is Wii U. Yeah, this is Wii U Atlas. This is Platinum Wii U. This is Platinum U. Shit. This is fucking Koei Tecmo U. This is Namco Bandai U. Not Tekken Wii U Edition, which, by the way, that's not a bad port, but I'm just saying. It's not fucking, Samurai War. Well, that was another one. It's not like Pirate Warriors Wii U Edition. It's not like fucking, well, this one's kind of hard because Bayonetta 1's included. Let's just say this isn't Metal Gear Rising Wii U Edition. It's not fucking Persona Wii U Edition. This is Atlas U. That's the point. That's the point you need to do. Don't make fucking ports. Ports don't sell for shit. You know what sells? Original games. And the sad thing is that of the games I just showed, I think these two came out in 2014. And these two came out in 2016. Why the fuck is this? Why are we doing that? Why was there a 2-year gap? And then on top of that, both of these fucking games, not only were there's only 2 of them. If just looking through the genres, we got like one fighter. We have, I think, including the fighters on the Wii U, like good give a fuck about games, exclusive games. We got 2. It's like this and Smash Brothers. Fucking RPGs, we got this and Xenoblade Chronicles. Fucking beat 'em ups, we got. Is there any? I guess these are technically both like hack and slash kind of games. What the fuck? I mean, maybe the Samurai Orochi's game could be included in that list. We got such a small variety of games, and these are important genres in gaming. Who the fuck doesn't like fighters? Who doesn't like hack and slashes and beat 'em ups and RPG fucking Gs? The 3DS is killing it with RPGs. Why has the main console only had like 2 or 3 on them? That's my biggest concern with games for the Switch. I want them to have exclusive experiences. I don't give a fuck if I don't get Persona 5. But I want a good RPG on my Switch. I don't give a damn. Listen, if you port it, that's cool. Just don't. That was one of the Wii U's bigger problems. Is not only not having third party, but having ports. When your console is not as strong as your competition, meaning it's automatically going to lose the argument of what the definitive version of a game is. Make an exclusive version so it automatically is a definitive version by default because you can't get that game nowhere else. Why do you think the Wii Call of Duty fandom is still around? People don't know that. There are gamers who actually still play Wii Call of Duty, let alone like Wii U Call of Duty. And it's primarily because those exclusive experiences people love. Muramasa and the Demon Blade, until recently, you couldn't get nowhere else. I say until recently because for those who don't know, Muramasa got ported to the Vita, I believe. No More Heroes, I think you can't get one of those games. One of those games is still exclusive to the Wii. I think the second game got ported, I think. Mad World, I think you still can't get anywhere else. Okami was the same fucking way. There were games that people loved, Zack and Wiki. You know, the Klonoa remake. There are games that specifically sold because they were the only console you could get them on was the Wii. And we have a few of those games on the Wii U, but not enough to be like, yeah, I'm totally going to spend $300 for Pokken Tournament, which came out this year. Actually, 2 of these you couldn't even argue with a few years ago because they weren't out. Both of these just came out. So the only ones you could argue with these 2. This one you've known about since the console's announcement back in like 2011, 2012. So it was like 2 years before the shit even came out. And this one, well, okay, this one's fine. But once again, I'm only holding like 4 or 5 games. It's insane. So I'm thinking, first, so I'm just going to go through my bullet points one more time to finish it. I think we'll mainly have Japanese support. I want more Switch original games, Switch exclusive / Switch original games. A lot of these developers are pretty much going to be, some of these are like 3DS developers. They'll be making their way over to the Switch. So we may possibly get like Switch ports or Switch variations or like a Switch game by these developers. Like a Siren Conquer game exclusively for the Switch since fucking, you know, Sony got Estival Versus and the fucking cooking game on the Vita and shit. And all we got were the first 2 main games on the 3DS. You know, that's what I want. And that's just my thought process. I'm sorry this is kind of jumbled up. There are some interesting names on here from Software and Bethesda being the 2 main ones that are like, it's kind of interesting. But, you know, take the shit with a grain of salt. Don't get too excited. But just look forward to January 12th where we'll see games. Some of these franchises I'm not too surprised about. Oh, well, we might get another Bravely Default game. Well, we got the first 2, and the third in Square Enix. That's the only game I can see on here. Oh, Monster Hunter. Maybe we'll get a Mega Man game. You know, it all's up in the air. But just keep your expectations managed and just look at it as I want this, not Deus Ex U Human Revolution Wii U edition. You know, I want this. I don't want fucking, what else? Darksiders 2 Wii U edition, because those games are going to be automatically slammed because they're the inferior version of the game. And some of you would say, well, so when you have the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and that happens all the time. Yeah, but it's not to the degree that I think the Switch is going to be. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts. Leave yours in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game, play to win. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.